What's going on, Raider Nation? It's JT coming at you with a special edition of the Raider Cast, your podcast for everything silver and black. As a very young fan, I'm almost 21 now, I have never really seen the Raiders be successful. Technically, I was alive for when we made the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. I technically was alive for all that. But I don't remember it. I don't remember that at all. I don't remember anything from when I was, 2 years old. The most success I've experienced is 2016 and last season. So this is a young fan perspective on this topic. I've experienced the carousel of QBs, of head coaches, of coordinators, of defenses, of players, all that stuff. Everything that any other Raider fans experienced the past 20 years, I've experienced too. But to a degree where I've never seen us win shit. I want to preface this by saying I don't hate Derek Carr the person. I think he is probably one of the best guys in the league. Like, one of the most genuine, not corny, like Russell Wilson. With that out of the way, I am not a fan of Derek Carr, the QB. I used to be. I was up until against the Washington football team. It was after our huge win against Dallas, and then we just an awful game. Our offense looked like shit. Our Carr didn't look good. And watching him live, I was like, holy crap, why is our offense looks awful. He's not hitting throws like Deshaun Jackson, literally that same route that he got that huge touchdown against the Cowboys to start the game. He misses him on that throw, misses a bunch of players. It was dumb penalties. And then we end up losing 17-15. It's not like we got blown out. The defense kept it close and we couldn't succeed. Derek Carr couldn't score when we needed him to. The offense failed. The defense didn't do anything wrong. They had the right play calls. Like I just said, he missed throws that scored touchdowns just a week before. But it didn't get put together. And I don't know what it was. And I just slowly realized, I was like, there's only been one guy that's been consistently here the past 9 years, and that's one person. Football is a team sport. You shouldn't put it all on one guy. And I agree. Derek Carr is not the epitome of what's wrong with the Raiders as an organization for the past 20 years, even before he got here. We are a terribly run organization, cannot find a head coach, cannot find a defensive coordinator worth a damn. Maybe Patrick Graham's it. We don't know yet. We can't find good coaches. We can't find good players. We can't get good draft picks. We can't do anything right. And to blame it all on Derek Carr, who's done nothing but be loyal to a shit organization, is it unfair? Yes. But at some point, you just gotta move on. And that is kind of the theme of this video, is that we just need to move on. We need to start over. And there's good reason to. Derek Carr is, at best, a top 10 QB. He's been a top 10 QB with periods of being a top 20 QB, being, a 20th ranked QB, and looking at all the major stats and then compiling it into his career averages, you begin to see what I'm talking about. But before I do that, I want to talk about why Derek Carr had promise. Coming out of college, he played for Fresno State. Mountain West Conference, not a very hard conference. He absolutely lit it up there, throwing for over 5,000 yards in his senior season, 50 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, made that, had that huge connection with Devontae Adams. And he ended up falling to the second round because of issues such as mechanics, being scared under pressure. They saw through his stats and seeing that he didn't play any really good competition. And when he did in the Las Vegas Bowl, he didn't play well. He couldn't play up to competition. He obviously had strength, though. He had an insane arm. absolutely insane arm to the point where his mechanics were so bad that it didn't matter because his arm was just that strong. He could just fling a football with the flick of his wrist 60 yards down the field and just connect it with, a fade route to his wide receiver for a touchdown. He could spread the ball around. That's one of his main strengths, is he could just pass the ball to anyone. He had a lot of positives, and his negatives were not easily fixable, but they would have taken time. So the first misstep of what the Raiders did to Derek Carr is they started him his rookie year. So we had a dogshit team, a dogshit coach, dogshit everything, and we said, Derek Carr, you were the starting quarterback. One of the scouting reports quite literally says that he needs to be sit for 1 to 2 years, very similar to Aaron Rodgers, in order for him to develop properly. He could never really work on his mechanics. He developed bad habits. He kept his bad habits because he never really had a chance to fix them, because he was always trying to make plays with the shit roster that he was given. He was given at that time, a bad O-line. He was given bad receivers. He was given a bad running game. He was given a bad defense, a bad coach to work with. Halfway through his rookie year, his coach got fired. They got their first win in Week 11 in a thriller against the Chiefs. They were a terrible team that year. And then in 2015, they got picks and stuff like that. Khalil Mack is developing into a god. You get Amari Cooper. You get, all these you get Michael Crabtree. Then he has a pretty good sophomore season. And everyone's like, whoa. Derek Carr is looking really good. His development's doing pretty well. He threw for 32 touchdowns. He had 13 interceptions, 61.1% completion percentage, which is best, 23rd best in the league. 3,900 yards, which is 13th best. That's such a step up from his rookie year. And then you go into 2016, and he has this insanely good year. He's on track to develop. He's looking like he's actually developing. But then it all comes crashing down on Christmas Eve against the Colts, literally, where his entire development gets snapped in half. Everything he was developing, all of his development, him finally being able to escape pressure and play well under pressure, his mechanics were being fixed. He was throwing it, he was, chucking it downfield. He was, if he needed to take the check down, he'd take the check down. He was leading his team to the playoffs for the first time since 2002. 14 years of no playoffs, and they did it. And then we lose the playoff game, and we go into 2017 with all of this hype. It all comes crashing down. He passes for 3,400 yards. He has 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, a little bit higher completion percentage, a worse rating of 86.4. Where the team looks like shit. Jack Del Rio gets fired. All of this stuff comes crashing down, and you see it. He's never the same again. He has never been the same Derek Carr ever again. Never came close to being that game changer. He couldn't escape pressure anymore. He was scared in the pocket, especially if they got to him early. There's games where he just gets in his own head and he just can't do anything. In one of the draft profiles, the NFL comparison to him was Andy Dalton. If you look, and a lot of Raider fans don't like to hear this, but if you look at his stats and the QB comparisons and just their career averages, they're the fucking same quarterback. Andy Dalton and Derek Carr are not that far off from each other. Derek Carr, 3,900 yards on average. Andy Dalton, 3,700 yards. Average yards per completion, 7.1 versus Andy Dalton's 7. Derek Carr averages 24 touchdowns a season. Andy Dalton averages 24 touchdowns a season. Derek Carr averages 11 interceptions a season. Andy Dalton averages 14 interceptions a season. Derek Carr averages 64.8% completion percentage. Andy Dalton averages 62.3. Derek Carr has a 92.0 rating on average. Andy Dalton has a 87.3 rating. And then you look at their, career accomplishments. They both have 3 Pro Bowls. They both absolutely destroyed franchise records. They were both second-round picks coming out of college. They both had really good college careers. And the only difference is Andy Dalton had slightly better teams in those mid-2010s Bengals teams. He led his team to 5 straight playoff appearances, and they lost all 5 games. He had A.J. Green to throw to, so he has that. But Derek Carr had Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree. He had Darren Waller. Peak Darren Waller was a wide receiver 1. Derek Carr is Andy Dalton. And that sounds like an insult, but that's just how it is. That's just who he is. That's the quarterback Derek Carr is. He never took that next step as a quarterback because it just never worked. He never had the system around him. And again, that's not his fault. I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's just how it is. That's just what it is. And there's nothing anyone can do to change that. He's never going to reach those peaks again. He's really never going to bring us to that Super Bowl. He's not that quarterback. And again, Andy Dalton gets cut after 9 seasons or 8 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, bringing them all this, making their franchise somewhat relevant again. Even though they didn't get playoff wins, they're relevant. But it didn't work. They didn't win. No matter what happened, what they did, it just didn't happen. He had weapons, they had a defense somewhat, all that stuff. And it never worked. And then what'd they do after they cut him? They draft Joe Burrow, who, wherever you think of him, you can't say he's a bad quarterback. They just went to the fucking Super Bowl with Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor as their head coach. Zach Taylor, who's not a good coach. Bengals fans definitely liked Andy Dalton for a good time. But he didn't get it done for them. And they didn't feel like wasting another season hoping that he could be that guy again that he was 4 or 5 years ago. Derek Carr is not going to be that guy that he was in 2016. You can't just keep hanging on to think that a 30-something-year-old QB is just going to turn the corner. And you look at someone like Geno Smith, who's having his best season of his career. You really think that the Seahawks are going to go anywhere with Geno Smith? You can't win the Super Bowl anymore without a top QB. And you can look at a QB like Matthew Stafford and say, Carr is like Matthew Stafford. They're like the same quarterback. Matthew Stafford's a little bit better of a quarterback than Derek Carr. It's just a fact. Yeah, he's had Megatron to throw to, but he's been in fucking Detroit for most of his career. And even then, they had to create this super team around him and absolutely mortgage the future in order to get that ring. We don't have that type of ability right now. It's not going to happen with Derek Carr, and it's just time to move on. We can hold out unto the hope that the hometown, Fresno State guy, grew up a Raider fan, stuck through it through the worst of times, is a great leader. Maybe he can bring us that ring that we've been looking for decades. Bring us back to playoff potential every season. But I'm here to tell you that it's not gonna happen. As much as even I personally hate to say it. Because you may call me a Carr hater. I don't give a fuck. I'm a Carr realist. And Carr is not the guy that's going to bring us the Super Bowl. So at this point, why not just say fuck it and get a rookie? Especially if you're picking in the top 10 at this point. What's the point of trying with the same guy? Why can't we just try it with someone new? Don't get playoffs. You can't build a team like insane. The Rams did it, but they had to, mortgage first-round picks for guys that might not have worked out. What if Von Miller turned into Chandler Jones and just didn't play well? What if Odell Beckham Jr. just didn't play well? It takes a lot to win, and we've never had that with Derek Carr. And it sucks because I would love to see Derek Carr hold the Super Bowl trophy, to have him hold the Lombardi. But it's honestly never going to happen. Wasted his potential. It's gone. It's never coming back. And we need to grow up and realize this guy is never going to win us a ring. We will thank him for all the times that he's made us somewhat relevant over the past 9 years and just have to move on. Go get another guy that we can maybe work. Build a team around a young, cheap quarterback who can maybe be that guy that Derek Carr was supposed to be 9 years ago for us. The savior of the Raiders. Bring back the old glory of the silver and black. But the guy is not Derek Carr. It's just not. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope you had a great day. And peace out, Raider Nation.